Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, Blitzen. I got it! Oh, I could do this forever. I could run forever. This is great. Who said you could eat my cookies? Cookies? Put that cookie down! It's turbo time. Nobody likes you, Booster. Hey, little girl. I got a shiny red ball. You want to trade? And don't forget, you're my #1 customer. Liz! If I said that to my wife, she'd be like, mm-hmm. And don't forget, I'm your only customer. Or how about he doesn't know where a kid puts a karate belt on? Like, I know. Arnie trying to do karate. There's so many great lines in this movie, I can go forever. 1, 2, 3, go! Oh, what fun it is to see Arnie save the day. Kind of. Hey everyone, welcome back to Mr. Teach Film Preach, and today we are continuing our 12 days of Christmas watch films. And so, sit back, relax, and we're going to talk about some Christmas holiday films. Speaking of nostalgia, Turtle Power. Way better than Turbo Man. And we are coming back with my second honorable mention that I didn't know quite if I wanted to put this on the list, but I felt it was kind of a shame not to talk about these two films, and the second one here being Jingle All The Way. Jingle All The Way came out in 1996. It stars Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad and Rita Wilson in this kind of family romp comedy adventure film. It was directed by Brian Levant. Arnold Schwarzenegger as the dad, Howard, who is a hardworking businessman, but he has neglected his son and his wife and his family in the past, and he's made one too many promises that have been broken. He misses his son getting his next belt in karate, and he's missed a couple other ones in the past, and he always makes these promises and he says these things and he never follows through with them. And that's really the conflict of the story, is Howard trying to fulfill the promise that he made to his son. And he wants to make it up to his son. He asks his son, what can he do? And his son says he wants a Turbo Man action figure for Christmas. It's sort of like a Power Rangers knockoff, Beetleborg sort of combination of those two, 90s terrible superhero television for kids. And so he wants a Turbo Man doll for Christmas, and Arnold says that he will get him one for Christmas. His wife mentions to him after that, did you already get the doll? Because it's now going to be near impossible to get. He lies to his wife, says he already has it. So he has to go out on Christmas Eve day and try and find a Turbo Man doll to give his kid for Christmas. It has a couple of themes about over-consumerism and how much emphasis we really put on giving presents at Christmas time, and that sort of whole old story. An adventure comedy action film in some ways. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he does an all right job. He's trying his best to be funny. And it works sometimes, and sometimes it really doesn't. Specifically in this movie, if you look at him, he plays an American dad, yet he's got the strangest accent ever, and no one calls him out on it. And this is something that are in all of Arnie's films, right? Like he plays an American dad or like an American soldier, but he talks like this, and I don't know, like God, and he's got this little accent, and like no one ever calls him out. Like no one ever says anything about it. I would just love one time someone to say, nice accent, where are you from? He got two! They just kind of blow over it because Arnie can't speak without an accent, it seems like. I've never seen him not have an accent in a film, and if I'm wrong, let me know. But this is one of those things that, especially in a Christmas movie, it's funny. It works. All the one-liners that are in this film are just incredible. The soundboard that came from this film alone is worth the watch. And this is easily his most sort of flamboyant, his most comical, his most ridiculous performance that he's probably ever done. And yes, that even goes over top of The Sixth Day, Eraser, any of those other movies that have some really great soundboards, those one-liners. This might actually be a little bit better for the one-liners because they're just great.
A shiny red ball. Do you want to trade?
I'm gonna deck your halls, bub.
It's Turbo Power! Yes, your Christmas spirit.
That's better.
Turtle man.
Who told you you can eat my cookies?
Put that cookie down now.
You can't bench press your way out of this one.
The situations that he gets himself into are very funny. They have some great back and forth with some strange characters that come in and out. Like Jim Belushi makes an appearance as Santa Claus. That's this crooked Santa Claus. And Sinbad is this postal man who is also trying to get his own child a Turbo Man doll, just like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he is battling Arnold Schwarzenegger the entire movie. And he's not funny. I never found Sinbad really that funny. Like, he has these lines in this movie. Everything he says is very adult humor. Like a one point he's screaming, "Rodney King! Rodney King!" Like, kids wouldn't know what that is. Like, anyone under 9 or 10 wouldn't know what that is. That's a bunch of these lines throughout this movie that you're like, I can't believe this is in this movie. Wow, that's crazy. It's got some really funny one-liners. It's got some fun characters. And that's really how I can describe this movie. It's just fun. It's funny just to watch and put on in the background. You don't have to take this movie too seriously. You're not really supposed to. Let's talk about things that are crazy and strange and maybe I didn't like about this film. Situations he gets himself into, as I had mentioned earlier, are really funny, but they're almost like next to impossible. If you look at any of the scenes once he leaves the house, like, wow, this is more than 8 hours in a day. Like, he's gone for the whole day to try and find his kid a doll. And he has to show up later at like 4 o'clock to go to this parade. So he has from like 8, 9 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon to try and get this doll. And this movie feels like he goes through about 8 days worth of shit. And it's more like 8 crazy nights than it is a one single day film. But you look at all the scenes he gets himself into, like he's at the store. They have this ball drive where they throw all these balls up in the air for this lottery. He gets into this huge fight with all these people scrambling and punching each other over this Turbo Man doll, which, I mean, I kind of get because it's sort of like, if that was like Black Friday, I mean, people have died during Black Friday. So kind of morbid in a way in a Christmas film. Like, you actually see people getting trampled at parts, people like fighting, punching each other, like jumping on each other, pulling each other's hair and stuff. Like, it's a kid's film. What? Chases the ball that gets taken by a little girl and she goes in the playpen. He goes after her. He looks like a total pervert. The mums are beating him with their purses. He gets involved with like a crooked Santa and sucked into this criminal underworld of illegal toys and ripping people off. And he gets into this big fight scene with all these like hundreds of Santas and the big like Jack Santa that's even bigger than Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm gonna deck your halls, bub. And then the FBI breaks in, the police come in, he acts as a police officer. This is the most disgraceful raid I've ever seen in my life. Okay. He holds up a fake badge to other officers. I call BS. That no way. They would arrest him, they would have taken him down, they would have looked up his badge number or something. They wouldn't just be like, oh, yeah, okay, you must be one of the detectives. Great. No, that's not how they do things. Then there's a bomb threat. He gets into a bomb threat at some point, and him and Sinbad are like punching each other, like throwing things at each other. Sinbad slips on an RV car at the beginning, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, yes, and he walks by. Oh, poor baby. And he runs away. Like, it's a bunch of adults acting like a bunch of kids. That's really what this film is, and it relies on that humor way too much. And it's funny at times, and then a lot of the other times I'm like, okay, this would never happen. I don't believe this. This is going on for too long. Oh my gosh, okay. They try and make things so ridiculous and fantasy, but also try and set it in a real world situation. And the two don't mesh. I've talked about in the past how a lot of films do a really good job of having these two different factions of being like suspenseful and funny and combining them and really making them work. And in this case of just being like a Christmas and comedy film, but it's also action and it's got some really perverse comedy and it's got some really crazy moments and things that might not be appropriate for kids, but they market it as a kids movie. It just didn't work, and I think that's why it doesn't have that great of a rating. I think the balance of this film is really off. Like, there's no way that halfway through the day that Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad wouldn't have been arrested and brought down to the police station. There's not a chance. But somehow they keep evading the cops. They literally get away from the cops out of like a hostage situation with a bomb. He keeps running into the same cop throughout the whole day. Like, hitting his bike, spilling the coffee, just a bunch of things. And he keeps running into him from the very beginning of the movie where he first pulls him over for speeding. And this cop and him have this really combative relationship. Like, how big is this town? He keeps running into the cop and Sinbad at the most random places. Like, how big is Minnesota? Minneapolis, and like, that's a big city. Like, the amount of coincidences in this film of people just randomly being in the right place at the right time, finding them, just things happening, it's all too convenient. And there wasn't really that much thought process, it felt like, going into the actual writing of this film. It's a kid's Christmas movie. I get that. But the filmmakers really didn't go to any ends to make it credible, to make it have any sort of consequences. And you just don't feel like there's anything happening that's credible in this film. Then at the end, at the parade, when they finally get to the parade, this whole movie's been about getting to this parade, this Christmas Day parade. And he somehow gets roped in accidentally into being Turbo Man on stage. And like, they're like, oh, you got the manual we sent you, right? To fly these incredibly difficult, hard to maneuver jetpack. He like flies and messes up a little bit, and then at one point he's like, I think I got it. Like this is a regular man who works at like an ad agency or works for a sales company. He is not a soldier. He is not a fighter. He is not a badass of any sort, but they try and make Arnie such a indestructible force. He's like the Terminator for dads in this film, and it's poorly written that way. And it's too bad because it's one of those ones that you can always enjoy, you can come back, but you love to hate it. It's not an amazing film. It's not even in my top 12 for Christmas films, but it is something that I do like to watch almost every year or every other year because it's so over the top and it's so ridiculous. They just kind of, hopefully this makes a lot of money, and it did. It actually made an incredible amount of money in the box office the opening weekend. Very staggering in that way. I was quite surprised, but when I was a kid, I was really excited to go see this film, and I wanted to be Turbo Man. So there was a lot of problems with the writing of this movie. The editing is kind of shoddy. That they didn't even try and do interesting shots with the cinematography or camera angles. It was just strictly a straightforward Christmas adventure film that's all about Turbo Man. You know, because those are so common to find. At least it was trying to do something kind of fun and original, and it wasn't just repeating the same story. It wasn't just A Nightmare Before Christmas, where it was really, that movie is just The Grinch That Stole Christmas wrapped up in a different way. They actually tried to make an original story, and there was an original script. It wasn't based off of anything before. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the originality of the film, what they were trying to say with this movie, consumerism and about a family man and being how hard it is to make a family happy at Christmas time and what's most important. I respect all the things that they try to do that way, but it doesn't make up for the fact that it's not that well of a made film in the end, and that an idea doesn't make a film. Even though I love watching this film and I enjoy it and I laugh a lot at it, as an actual, if I put my blinders on and I'm looking this as critically as I can and trying not to be too nostalgic about this film, I'm going to have to go ahead and give Jingle All The Way a C. Now, this doesn't mean that I don't like to watch this film, because I think it's really funny at parts, except Sinbad and Howard and Myron are awful people. And it's hard to sympathize with those characters at points, and I think that's why it really pulls it down in a lot of ways. It doesn't get such a higher grading because you don't care about the characters that much. Maybe the kid, but even the kid's a little bratty in this film, and go check out this film. You'll laugh your asses off, and maybe not. Maybe you love this film and it's like an A+ or an A for you, and that's great, but even as an adult, loving it as a kid, it just isn't quite up to snuff. Thanks very much for watching, you guys. If you like this video, click down below, like, subscribe. That would be awesome. Yes. Come back and check out more of 12 Days of Christmas Watch Films. I will be releasing the actual list here pretty quickly in the next few days and moving it from 12 to 1 up till Christmas time. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Merry Christmas, and as always, let's get taught.